What if one of the most overlooked coins in America has been hiding in plain sight for decades? Millions of people have spent it without a second thought, tossed it into jars, or left it forgotten in dresser drawers. But here's the twist. While stories of ordinary nickels selling for nearly $1 million spread across the internet, the truth behind the 1974 Jefferson nickel is even more fascinating. So, could the 1974 no-mint mark Thomas Jefferson nickel really be worth $926,000? Or is there a deeper story waiting to be uncovered? The journey begins in Philadelphia in 1974. During a time of economic uncertainty, the United States Mint struck hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels without a mint mark. At the time, Philadelphia coins typically carried no mint mark, making these pieces completely ordinary in circulation. They were designed not to become treasures, but to buy a cup of coffee, pay for a bus ride, or disappear into everyday commerce. The Jefferson nickel itself has a rich history dating back to 1938. It replaced the famous Buffalo nickel and honored Thomas Jefferson, America's third president and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. On the reverse stood Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia estate, a symbol of architecture, knowledge, and American history. Every time someone held one of these coins, they were unknowingly carrying a tiny piece of the nation's heritage. But here's where the mystery begins. If hundreds of millions were produced, why do collectors still search through rolls of 1974 nickels today? The answer lies in the unexpected. Most 1974 no-mint mark nickels are worth only their face value or a small premium if they're in exceptional uncirculated condition. However, collectors are always hunting for the rare exceptions. Dramatic off-center strikes, double dies struck through errors, clipped planchets, or coins preserved in nearly perfect mint state grades can command impressive prices compared to ordinary examples. Imagine opening an old coin album inherited from a grandparent. At first glance, everything looks ordinary. Then one coin catches your eye. The surfaces shine with almost unbelievable brilliance. Every detail of Jefferson's portrait remains razor-sharp. Could it be a top-graded survivor? Or perhaps an unusual mint error that escaped quality control more than 50 years ago? Stories like these keep collectors searching. Not because every nickel is worth a fortune, but because history occasionally hides remarkable surprises where nobody expects them. This is also where myths can spread. Claims of ordinary 1974 no-mint mark Jefferson nickels selling for $926,000 are not supported by verified auction records. Extraordinary prices in the coin market are generally reserved for genuinely unique errors, experimental strikes, or exceptionally rare varieties certified by respected grading services. That's why experienced collectors always rely on authentication rather than internet rumors. Perhaps that's what makes coin collecting so addictive. It isn't just about money. It's about curiosity. Every coin has traveled through countless hands, witnessed decades of history, and survived long enough to tell its story. Some become priceless because of rarity. Others become priceless because they connect us to the past. So before you spend that old Jefferson nickel sitting in your pocket or coin jar, take a closer look. You may not discover a $1 million treasure, but you might uncover an authentic piece of American history that's been quietly waiting for someone to appreciate its journey. And sometimes that discovery is worth more than any headline ever could.
What if one of the most overlooked coins in America has been hiding in plain sight for decades? Millions of people have handled it, spent it without a second thought, or left it forgotten in a drawer. Yet a simple 1978 D. Jefferson nickel has sparked endless rumors across the collecting world. But here's the real question: could an ordinary-looking 5-cent coin truly be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? The 1978 D. Jefferson nickel was struck at the Denver Mint during a time when the United States was producing billions of circulating coins every year. Featuring the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his beloved home, Monticello, on the reverse, this coin represented stability in American coinage. Designed by Felix Schlag, the Jefferson nickel had already become one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Because more than 463 million 1978 D nickels were produced, finding one is incredibly common. At first glance, that seems to end the story. But for experienced collectors, the real treasure isn't the date alone. It's the possibility that a tiny minting mistake transformed an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. Imagine receiving change at a grocery store. You toss a nickel into your pocket without looking. Years later, you discover unusual doubling in the lettering, a dramatic off-center strike, or another rare mint error that escaped quality control nearly half a century ago. Suddenly, that forgotten coin becomes far more than spare change. Stories like these are exactly what keep treasure hunters searching through jars, piggy banks, and inherited collections. One of the biggest myths surrounding the 1978 Jefferson nickel is that every example is worth a fortune. That's simply not true. Most circulated coins are worth only their face value, while well-preserved uncirculated examples can bring modest premiums depending on their condition. However, genuine mint errors or exceptionally preserved specimens certified in the highest grades by professional grading services can command significantly higher prices at auction. This is where the mystery begins. Every year, collectors continue discovering overlooked varieties and remarkable condition rarities that spent decades unnoticed. It raises an irresistible question. How many valuable coins are still quietly circulating or sitting forgotten inside old collections? The Jefferson nickel itself carries remarkable historical significance. Thomas Jefferson was one of America's founding fathers, principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and the nation's third president. Monticello, his Virginia estate, symbolizes both architectural brilliance and a complex chapter of American history. Every Jefferson nickel serves as a small piece of that legacy, passing from hand to hand across generations. Coin collecting isn't just about money. It's about preserving history. Every scratch, every worn edge, and every unusual strike tells a story about where that coin has traveled and whose lives it has touched. That sense of mystery is what transforms ordinary metal into something deeply meaningful. You've probably seen online claims that a 1978 Jefferson nickel is worth as much as $926,000. While such headlines generate excitement, there is no verified public record of a regular 1978 Jefferson nickel selling for that amount. Any coin approaching an extraordinary value would almost certainly need to be an exceptionally rare mint error or a unique, certified specimen with remarkable provenance. So the next time a nickel lands in your hand, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. History has a funny way of hiding its greatest surprises in the smallest places. And sometimes, the greatest treasure isn't the fortune you find, it's the incredible story waiting to be discovered.
What if the most valuable treasure in your pocket wasn't made of gold or silver, but of ordinary nickel? Millions of people have heard unbelievable stories claiming that a simple 1981 Jefferson nickel could be worth as much as $926,000. But is there any truth behind that astonishing number? The real story is even more fascinating because it reveals how history, craftsmanship, and a tiny minting mistake can transform an everyday coin into a collector's dream. The 1981 Jefferson nickel was struck at the Denver Mint during a time when America was battling high inflation and economic uncertainty. Every coin carried the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front, honoring the nation's third president and the author of the Declaration of Independence. On the reverse stood Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia estate, a symbol that had appeared on the nickel for decades and had become one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. More than 600 million 1981 nickels were produced, making the regular issue anything but rare. In fact, chances are that thousands of these coins still sit forgotten inside jars, drawers, and old piggy banks across the country. That raises an intriguing question. If so many were made, why do collectors still search for them with such excitement? The answer lies in the extraordinary exceptions. Most 1981 nickels are worth only face value or a small premium in excellent condition. But every once in a while, collectors discover an example with a dramatic minting error. A coin struck off-center, a double die showing noticeable doubling in the design, or a rare strike on the wrong planchet can command impressive prices at auction. Even more desirable are coins preserved in exceptional uncirculated condition with outstanding luster and virtually flawless surfaces. Those elite examples are incredibly difficult to find because nickels were designed for circulation, not for perfect preservation. That is where treasure hunters become detectives. Imagine opening an old coin album passed down through generations. At first glance, every nickel appears identical. But under careful magnification, tiny details begin telling a completely different story. A misplaced strike, an unusual doubling, a surface untouched by decades of circulation. Suddenly, an ordinary 5-cent coin becomes a remarkable survivor from America's past. Stories about six-figure or even million-dollar values spread rapidly across the internet, capturing imaginations everywhere. Yet, experienced numismatists remind us that such extraordinary prices require extraordinary evidence. A common 1981 D nickel does not sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars simply because of its date. Any truly exceptional valuation would depend on a unique combination of an extremely rare mint error, outstanding certified condition, and strong demand from collectors competing at auction. Perhaps that's what makes coin collecting so addictive. It isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about holding a small piece of history that has quietly traveled through countless hands while waiting for someone to recognize its hidden story. So the next time you receive change, don't dismiss that humble Jefferson nickel too quickly. Take a closer look. Examine the mint mark. Study the details. You may not uncover a fortune, but you'll gain a deeper appreciation for the remarkable history hiding inside America's everyday coins. And who knows, your next great discovery could be sitting unnoticed in your pocket right now. Have you ever looked at a 1986 D Jefferson nickel and wondered if that ordinary 5-cent coin in your pocket could be worth a fortune? It sounds almost unbelievable, but some modern coins have stunned collectors with incredible auction prices. The real question is this: could your nickel be one of the rare exceptions? Or is it just another common coin? The answer lies in the tiny details most people never notice. The 1986 D Jefferson nickel was struck at the Denver Mint during the presidency of Ronald Reagan, at a time when America was experiencing technological change and economic growth. More than 663 million of these nickels were produced, making the vast majority of them worth only their face value or a small premium if uncirculated. But history has taught collectors an important lesson. Sometimes, a tiny mistake at the mint can transform an everyday coin into an extraordinary treasure. The Jefferson nickel itself has a remarkable story. Introduced in 1938, it replaced the famous Buffalo nickel and honored Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. The reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's beloved Virginia estate, a symbol of architecture, education, and the ideals of the young republic. For decades, billions of Americans have carried this design without giving it a second thought. But what if one of those coins wasn't quite like the others? Collectors spend countless hours searching for rare mint errors on 1986 D nickels. A dramatic off-center strike, a broad strike, a double die, a wrong planchet error, or major die cracks can turn an ordinary coin into something collectors fiercely compete to own. Even subtle details like a full steps designation, where every step of Monticello appears fully struck, can dramatically increase value when combined with an exceptionally high mint state grade. This is where the story becomes fascinating. While you may see sensational claims online suggesting values as high as $926,000, there is no verified public auction record of a standard 1986 D Jefferson nickel selling for that amount. Those eye-catching numbers usually refer to extraordinary hypothetical examples or are simply exaggerated. However, authenticated error coins and superbly preserved specimens have sold for hundreds or even several $1,000s, especially when certified in elite condition by professional grading services. Imagine finding an old coin jar in your attic. You dump hundreds of nickels onto the table, expecting nothing more than spare change. Then one coin catches your eye. The strike looks unusually sharp. The surfaces still gleam after decades. Could this be the one collectors have been searching for? That possibility is exactly what keeps treasure hunters looking through rolls of coins every single day. Professional numismatists recommend examining every 1986 D nickel under good lighting with magnification. Look closely at Jefferson's portrait, the lettering, the date, the mint mark, and especially the steps of Monticello. Genuine mint errors are uncommon, but they do exist, and discovering one can be an unforgettable moment. Perhaps that's what makes coin collecting so addictive. It's not only about money, it's about holding a small piece of American history that has quietly traveled through millions of hands, carrying stories that no one can fully trace. Every scratch, every mark, every rare mistake tells a chapter of its journey. So before you spend your next nickel without a second glance, take a closer look. Hidden among the ordinary could be a remarkable piece of numismatic history waiting to be discovered. And if you enjoy uncovering forgotten treasures hiding in everyday pocket change, be sure to subscribe, because the next life-changing coin could already be sitting in your collection. Have you ever wondered if the next coin you pull from your pocket could be worth more than a luxury mansion? It sounds impossible, but every year, collectors search through ordinary change hoping to uncover a modern treasure. One coin that has sparked endless curiosity is the 1989 Jefferson nickel. While millions of these nickels are only worth 5 cents, a tiny number with extraordinary minting errors have stunned the collecting world and turned an everyday coin into something truly unforgettable. The story begins in 1989 at the Denver Mint, where hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels were struck. Designed by Felix Schlag, the obverse features the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, while the reverse proudly displays Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate. By this point, the Jefferson nickel had already become one of America's longest-running coin series, quietly passing through countless hands without attracting much attention. But here's where the story becomes fascinating. When coins are produced in such enormous numbers, even the smallest mistake can create an incredible rarity. A misaligned die, an off-center strike, a dramatic die crack, a wrong planchet, or a coin struck with multiple errors can transform an ordinary nickel into a collector's dream. These aren't intentional creations. They're accidents born during the fast-paced minting process, making every genuine error coin a unique piece of history. Imagine receiving one of these nickels in change during a trip to the grocery store decades ago. Most people would have spent it without a second thought. Yet a careful collector might have noticed something unusual: a double design, missing details, or an unusual metallic appearance. That simple observation could have changed everything. Many headlines and online stories claim that a 1989 Jefferson nickel is worth as much as $926,000. While those figures often circulate on social media, it's important to separate excitement from reality. As of today, no ordinary 1989 Jefferson nickel has been verified to sell for anywhere near that amount. However, exceptionally rare error coins or unique minting anomalies can command astonishing prices, especially when authenticated by leading grading services and preserved in pristine condition. That's why experienced collectors never judge a coin by its date alone. They examine every detail under magnification. Is the mint mark crisp? Are there signs of doubling? Is the strike unusually sharp? Does the surface reveal evidence of a rare production mistake? These tiny clues can make an enormous difference in value. The 1989 nickel also reminds us of something bigger than money. Every coin carries a story. It traveled through cash registers, family piggy banks, vending machines, and countless pockets before arriving where it is today. It became a silent witness to everyday American life, connecting millions of people through a single piece of metal. Perhaps that's the true magic of coin collecting. It's not just about discovering something valuable. It's about uncovering hidden history that most people overlook every single day. So the next time you receive a handful of change, don't rush to spend it. Take a closer look at every nickel. You never know when an ordinary-looking coin might reveal an extraordinary story or an incredibly rare minting error that collectors have been searching for decades. Because sometimes, history isn't locked away in a museum. Sometimes, it's waiting quietly in your pocket, just 5 cents away from changing the way you see treasure forever.